What's up, everybody? Welcome back into the next episode of Sports Talk with Hawk. How we doing today? Today we're looking at the Tennessee Titans. I gave a little teaser in the Panthers snapshot. Top 5 defense, and you still get the number 1 pick? Let's find out what went wrong. Here we go. Hey guys, welcome back in. The NFL has raised the salary cap again. Potentially $20 million this year will be raised. So I'm going to stick with the original figures for the rest of the snapshots, as the NFLPA and the NFL is still trying to finalize exactly how much the jump for the salary cap will be. But the revenue is through the roof. NFL is king. It's also queen, and I think it's also the Jacks. At this point in time, I don't think any other league, or all of them combined right now, can reach what the NFL is as far as revenue, the love for the sport. It's what they do, and it's the fact that it's still a business that really focuses on kind of what the fans want. They know who pays the bills, and they didn't forget that. So, as we head into this snapshot with the Tennessee Titans, yes, I know the salary cap is jumping, but we're going to go off of the original numbers at the end of the year, since we do not have a definitive amount that the salary cap will be jumping up. Just understand they will have more than what is already here, which really means the effective cap space is what goes up, because now that $20 million will cover what they call a full team. They fill out the roster, and you can fill out a roster for X amount of millions. So we'll just throw that into the millions category of what the salary cap will jump up to. But jumping into the Tennessee Titans, you get the number 1 pick in the draft. And I teased it and I said it. And you're a top 5 defense. Not even just a top 5 defense. You're the second best defense in the NFL. And you lose as many games as they did. And you end up with the number 1 pick with a defense that ain't that bad. So I want to kind of play out how the season really went down for the Tennessee Titans. Because to me, it was the game in Indianapolis against the Colts that changed where these statistics really went. They led up well over 200 rushing yards to Jonathan Taylor. Well over 200 rushing yards to Jonathan Taylor. That game, I saw a lot of very bad angles, very bad tackling, not really engaging when it came down to making a play. And then all of a sudden, the offense starts clicking, the defense decides to engage itself, and they almost come back and beat the Colts when there should not have been a chance. I don't know. Head coach Brian Callahan, I said this when they hired him, it really just looks like the brass was trying to take a deep breath from Mike Vrabel. They didn't want to deal with another coach that knew more about football than they did and that would fight them on different aspects. Trading A.J. Brown when they did was the dumbest thing they could have done, and Mike Vrabel let them know about it. Mike Vrabel knew this team was not heading in a direction to compete. Guess what? They didn't. Brian Callahan, I think, actually did an awful job coaching. An awful job coaching. I give him a D right now. I think Brian Schottenheimer will be worse than what Brian Callahan was. But it was bad. It was absolutely bad. The team did not play inspired. The team did not play with their hair on fire, trying, fighting. None of that. It looks awful in Tennessee right now. I don't blame Shedeur Sanders for not wanting to go there. Why would you want to go to Brian Callahan? We're not talking about Tom Coughlin. We're not talking about Norv Turner. We're talking about Brian Callahan. And yes, I'm referencing the Eli debacle between him and Phillip Rivers. San Diego was notoriously cheap. They basically coined the phrase chargering. And Eli knew, don't want to go here. Now, here's the cool thing about this. I don't know if it actually makes a difference who goes where in that draft. I think they have the same amount of success. The defense for the Chargers back then is what carried them. Right now, if they draft Cam Ward, which I expect them to, the defense is, according to this, the defense is what's going to carry them anyway. Brian Callahan, being an offensive coach, couldn't get the offense to roll. Mason Rudolph looked okay, but there was no consistency. Brian Callahan looked lost. I'm sorry. The head coaching position, everybody is like, you want one. It's one of 32. It's an elite class. Yeah, but if you suck at it, you can destroy a franchise. They could easily get the number one pick again next year. Now, the Colts did that. Let's just be honest. The Colts did that. Peyton Manning went 3-13 his first year. But they were really competitive. Tennessee got blown out a ton. Not even competitive. Like they didn't even show up off the bus with all 53 players. It was horrible. They get $44 million in cap space. Obviously, that's going to be higher. They've got 30 free agents, 20 of them unrestricted. They currently have their 7 picks in the draft. What the numbers bear out is really kind of telling. They were 26th in total offense with an offensive coach. 304 yards a game on offense, 26th in the pass at 195, 20th on the ground at 109 a game, and they averaged 18 points per game. Defensively, they were second in total defense at 311 yards a game. So their defense allowed 7 more yards a game than what their offense got. And it was only 311. They were second against the pass at 177 yards a game. They were 26th against the run at 134 yards a game, and they allowed 27 points per game. Here's why it really doesn't fit. Turnover differential. You ready for this? -16. They averaged a turnover. They averaged a takeaway a game. They got 11 interceptions, 7 fumble recoveries. They averaged a takeaway a game. They gave away 21 interceptions and 13 fumbles. 21 interceptions and 13 fumbles. -16 turnover differential. Now, does that play into some of the numbers? It can play into the points per game being higher and potentially the yardage being lower, but obviously this defensive unit isn't that bad. The secondary is still weak. L'Jarius Sneed is the only one on that back end right now. I like Hooker, but they need 2 corners that can really play hard. They don't really have 2 corners that can play hard right now. Madden ratings don't count. They need 2 guys that can really play, and I don't know necessarily what the defensive scheme is, because between Simmons, Landry, all these players, they played hard because they played hard. I don't know how much of it was actually coaching. The head coach at the end of the year really looked like he had no respect from the team. And when you have those numbers, remember, the rule is your side of the ball has to be good. His side of the ball sucked badly. He was the one that was supposed to be able to unlock Will Levis. Now, Will Levis, he's worried more about his muscles than he is his arms. I have never seen a guy be able to be that big as a quarterback and be able to really throw the ball fluently. Will Levis has got too much muscle to be able to actually be a true NFL quarterback. He's worried about the wrong things. And that has really hurt him. He's got a hitch in his throw, in his windup. It hurts. It affects a lot of different things. He can run, he can move, he's very, very mobile. But his accuracy sucks. He overshoots a lot. And then sometimes it's just not even in the vicinity. So I think at this point, moving on from Levis is kind of, duh. But the question I have is, what do you do with the number one pick? That's going to be the question. Well, let's take a look at who their free agents are, because that is going to actually kind of show where they are at. So here we go. They have, this is going to be a little interesting. Jerome Baker, the outside linebacker, free agent. Sebastian Joseph, the defensive tackle, free agent. Nick Folk, free agent. Quandre Diggs, the safety, free agent. Rudolph's a free agent. Brunskill, the tackle's a free agent. Both Tyler Boyd and Nick Westbrook-Akeen are free agents. The tackle, Dylan Redunds, Morgan Cox, Daryl Worley, Justin Hardy, both of them corners are free agents. And then you have all of your role players. See, make sure they don't have any. Ryan Stonehouse is a restricted free agent, so they probably will be able to re-sign him. Let's see. Raekwon McMillan is also an unrestricted free agent. And the corner, Darrell Baker Jr. is a free agent. So they've got some free agents to be able to replace. So what do you do with the number one pick? And I know everybody's going to say, take the quarterback early. This is a quarterback-driven league, so I'm not going to argue with that. My thought is, and here's a domino that really needs to fall. I don't know if any of you have seen, but there are a lot of rumors, and evidently from what I have read and from people that have been talking about it, the Giants are not sold on Shedeur Sanders, which is a huge domino chip. The Giants are trying to trade for an established quarterback because, as we said in the Giants kind of need to win now. This is the year they have to at least finish third in the division and look like the future is going to go somewhere. Because the Dallas Cowboys are going to absolutely be awful. Philadelphia loses their offensive coordinator again, so let's be honest. This offense could take 5-6 weeks to figure out. Washington's going into the second year. We've seen second year kind of slumps as everybody learns how to cover. But at this point, you've got to go 8-9. You go 8-9, I don't think Dable should be fired. I don't think Shane should be fired. Especially if you hit on draft picks again. The Titans are not in a position where I think they're going to improve. I really don't. You've got to draft a quarterback. But if the Giants trade for a veteran, they are no longer drafting a quarterback. What will then happen is you can't trade back if you're the Titans. Because then other teams, because the Giants are not moving back right now without a quarterback. They get a quarterback, they're probably trading that third pick. If they're getting an established veteran, that team is probably not looking at drafting a quarterback. They're probably going to sign one. So they're going to trade back, which means teams like the Jets and the Raiders are really going to be looking to move up. I fully believe this is a move the Titans should make. Titan fans may not like this idea, but I think this is a move they should make. They should make a trade, and this will show the fans they're trying to win now. They should make a trade for Brock Purdy and Christian McCaffrey. I was going to say Debo and CMC. Both of them are injury prone. San Francisco is looking like they want to move. They want to move off Debo. They're talking about moving off CMC because of all the injuries. Here's my question to you. If you can get CMC in Tennessee for 10 games in a year, so just over half the season, Brock Purdy starts every game. You have an established starter. He's a starter. I don't like Brock Purdy as far as being able to elevate a team. That's very clear. I believe he's between 15th and 20th ranked in the NFL when it comes to quarterbacks. That's where I put him at. But if you make this trade, San Francisco would be willing to draft Shedeur Sanders, and Shedeur would want to go to San Francisco. This is a 49er type move. Don't think that it isn't. They have done this before. Trade Brock Purdy, trade Christian McCaffrey, you get the number 1 pick in this draft. You're going to probably have to give him something else. They may be able to give him players, actually. They may be able to give him players. They may be able to swap Will Levis so that they have a backup out there. I don't know. But I think that's the team you go after if you're Tennessee. I think you could get the 49ers to bite if the deal is correct. You can then use all that cap space. The offensive line needs to have help. I think a really good player for the Titans to be able to sign right now is Morgan Moses, the free agent that just played for the Jets. I think he helps the right side. Your left side of the offensive line is good. It is really good. Peter Skoronski, J.C. Latham, done. That side of the line is good. Now you work on the rest of the offensive line. I would sign Morgan Moses to be the right tackle, veteran. I would then go after your center because they're going to be later. I would then get your center in the second round. Maybe, you get the first pick in the second round. There is a chance Donovan Jackson will still be there. There's a chance that some Wyman will still be there depending on how this draft plays out, because I think it's really unpredictable based on the fact that there are a bunch of players that are just sitting right there in that middle bubble. So it's unpredictable who's going to still be around in the second round. If it looks like Donovan Jackson's there, take Donovan Jackson, put him at guard. And then you get your center in free agency. I don't know which way to go with it. I do know that unless the Titans get an established quarterback, I think this is another 4-13 year. I do not trust Brian Callahan to be able to groom any quarterback whatsoever. None. Zero. I do not see him grooming any quarterback. Joe Burrow didn't miss a step without Brian Callahan. Joe Burrow did not get better because of Brian Callahan. Brian Callahan got the job because of Joe Burrow. Sorry. My simple idea is go after San Francisco. Trade the number 1 pick. Get Brock Purdy and Christian McCaffrey. You can get them pretty cheap. Or get Brock Purdy and Debo Samuel. Pair Debo Samuel with Calvin Ridley. I absolutely think that would work. They've got the cap space to do it, to make that work. And I think you could easily then tell Brock Purdy, listen, you're playing out this year. You're probably going to play out this year. If we give you a 4-year deal right now, it's going to be $35 million a year. And maybe that's the deal he signs. I don't know. But that's what I would do. That's what I would do. You've got to show the Tennessee fans you're trying to win. If they just stick with their pick and draft Cam Ward, I don't think they improve much. If they make a trade that gets them two players, Brock Purdy and Deebo Samuel, that do have the ability to win, I think they could easily improve. I think they could then get to 6 or 7 wins. But the way it is right now, I am not trusting that Brian Callahan can improve anything on a quarterback. They have to be outrageously talented like Joe Burrow was, to which is why he got the job. Callahan, I don't think, belongs anywhere near a head coaching position. If he goes 4-13 again, he'll get fired. And then he'll be back to the drawing board because the Titans brass, honestly, is pretty bad. I mean, it's pretty bad. There was no reason for their GM to get fired. And really, it just looks bad. So, I don't know what's going to happen. The Titans franchise needs help. Ownership, they got the new stadium. You got to show the fans you want to win. And just drafting the quarterback and not making a bunch of other moves does not show the fans you care about winning. You make that move for Brock Purdy and Deebo Samuel, you're saying, listen, we're trying to compete now while we're developing the talent. If you have the second best defense again next year, if you have a top 5 defense again next year with Brock Purdy, Deebo Samuel, Calvin Ridley, I don't love Pollard as the running back, but he's good enough. You should win multiple games more. You should win 3 games more than what you did this year because the offense should be better. If it's not, you know it's the coach. Get that coach out of town as fast as possible. I don't know what they're going to do, but I know they can't be like the Colts were last year and waste what will be, after the cap raise, close to $60 million in cap space. Can't waste it. It's got to be used well. Defensively, they need 2 corners. You got Jeffrey Simmons still, Harold Landry, you got L'Jarius Sneed. You've got some blocks on that defense. Get the rest of those players filled in and get yourself a dang offensive line. It's as simple as it gets. All right, guys, that is going to be it for today. The Tennessee Titans snapshot is done, and over tomorrow, we take a look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, a team that is stuck in just winning because the organization is great and losing because, honestly, the coach's message, you can tell, just doesn't resonate anymore. And we'll look at that tomorrow. Thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you for hanging out. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the podcast, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Until then, for Sports Talk with Hawk, I'm Hawk, and I'm out. Have an absolutely great evening.